Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of the Feels Dropbox. If you are new here, hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a 32-year-old artist living in New York. I've been sharing my life on the internet for about 9 months now. Throughout that process, I've heard a lot of stories from people sharing with me their struggles about life, about dating, about feeling left behind, career burnout, all sorts of things. And I wanted to create a space to honor those stories so that we get reminded that we are all human doing this human thing, and life is not easy, and we are really not alone in any of our struggles. On that note, I wanted to share today's episode, which will be a solo dolo episode, because I've been getting a lot more DMs just about people feeling left behind, and I wanted to touch upon that subject while we're here. So today will just be a Lauren shares thoughts about feeling left behind and sharing a little bit of my own personal journey with that struggle and how I've managed to move through it. So if you hear yourself within this story at all, please feel free to leave a comment, and please remember to be kind in your comments. I have been getting some hate messages sometimes, and you know what? I'm just really grateful that I have a thicker skin now, because if Lauren from a year ago had gotten those messages, I would have been thrown. It does annoy me sometimes. I think to myself, like, why would you bother writing hate? Because it takes so much more effort to be hateful than it does to love other people. And I just want to remind you that, so that if you do write a comment to me or to anybody else on the internet, just remember that it actually takes less energy to be kind than it does to be hateful. So that's all I want to say about that subject. But so in today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about feeling left behind and maybe considering starting over. For me personally, I am 32. I am not at all where I thought I was going to be at 32. I'm living in a new city. I am single. I am not doing at all the job that I thought I was going to be doing. I am closer to the job I thought I was going to be doing, but I am definitely not where I thought I would be. And so there were many moments in my late 20s, especially when I turned 30, that I felt I was just so left behind. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to catch up with my friends, because there's that odd shift between like 24 and 26 where I think in 24, everyone's still figuring their stuff out. Everyone's a little bit lost, and like the energy's a little frantic in the air still. And then all of a sudden, this like gap, this chasm happens within all your friendships, where some people are still partying until the wee hours of the morning, and then other people are getting huge promotions at work and then going into all these fancy parties. And it's an odd shift to go through in your 20s. And maybe that's what makes your 20s so special, because that is maybe the only real time in your life where you see such a big gap between you and your friends and the people around you. And that's also when the biggest life transitions happen for most people. So for me, I had gone to college in the States before. I went back to Hong Kong when I was 22, and for about 7 years, I was in Hong Kong. I had a lot of friends come in and out. I had 2 relationships within that time. And one of those relationships, I thought I was going to marry this person. And I thought I was on my way. I found my way, and I was like ready to go. Life was going to be set for me. And then COVID happened. And so my relationship also ended at that time. And a lot of my friendships also shifted, because some people were getting married and having babies. And I just felt lost. I had no idea what I was doing. I was partying way too hard and trying to use alcohol and late nights to try to soothe all the anxiety and like insecurity that I was feeling. And it sucks. That's all I have to say. Like, that period of time is not fun. And if you are going through that right now, I feel you. I really do. It's not fun to feel like you're behind in life. And I still have days when I feel like that. But even though I do have days when I feel like that, I also have many days, most days, where I don't feel like that. I don't feel left behind at all, because there's another shift that happens in your early 30s when all of a sudden the people who did get married really young are divorced, which is sad. I'm sorry for those people. But there's also people who maybe got promoted to the highest level of their job, and all of a sudden they got laid off, and they also don't know what they're doing. And so there's this other shift that happens in your early 30s when you're like, wait, the people you thought that were going to be the quote unquote the most successful ones end up not being that. And then you realize that so much of what you had placed importance on to be quote unquote successful were not and are not the things that make people successful at all. I think I looked around when I was about 30 And I thought to myself, actually, even though on paper I might not have seemed the most impressive, I had done a lot of internal work. I, at that point, had gone through many bouts of depression and many therapists and had read a lot of books and podcasts and listened to all these things and tried to understand myself and my internal world so much because I always felt like I was so different. I struggled with self worth a lot in my teens and my 20s. And so I think I needed those years of really digging deep into myself and trying to figure out what made me. And at first, I think doing that kind of work seemed maybe frivolous to some people, but it was very necessary for me to find my own happiness. And now I am truly very grateful that I have done that work because I am really grateful that now I understand myself so well. And I honestly feel a little validated sometimes when some of my friends come to me and ask me for advice on therapists or like doing inner child work and doing all that stuff because it's not easy, that kind of work. And sometimes it takes someone hitting rock bottom in order to do that work. And I don't wish rock bottom on anybody. However, I do think doing that work at some point in your life is very important because that's the stuff that allows you to find fulfillment in your life and find the things that make you happy and find the things that give you purpose. I think by doing that work in my late 20s and early 30s that I was able to sit and really think to myself, what is it that I want out of my life? What do I need in order to truly be happy? And that answer has changed over time. And it is not at all what I thought I needed before. And I think that answer shifts for everybody over time. It's not going to be the same in your 20s, 30s, 40s, could change when you're in your 60s. And I think that's maybe the beauty of life and of being a human because we shift, we change, we grow, we learn things about ourselves. We have experiences that can be soul crushing, or we can have experiences that completely break us apart as humans. And we have to put the pieces back together over time. And that process of kind of just like your identity completely breaking apart and then going through periods of struggle and discomfort and loss and just feeling so misaligned to digging deep and using that time to seek spirituality, seeking joy, seeking creativity, seeking the inner version of you, whatever it may be that you're seeking, to put those pieces back together. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That kind of work takes a lot of time, a lot of breaking down, a lot of crying, a lot of soul searching. And I do think it is a privilege to do that work. It is not something I take for granted that I was given resources and tools and had the space to be able to do that kind of work because it is something that takes time and patience and a lot of love and support from people. And I am so grateful for the people in my life who have given me that love and support and safety net to be able to do that work so that I can become the best version of myself. And I'm not saying that just in a financial way. I think it is an emotional privilege too, to have people around you that support that kind of work and doing that kind of work for yourself, because I don't take for granted that there are many people in my life who I could have lengthy conversations with about what it means to be a human, what it means to find what your purpose is. And so that's why I wanted to make this space, is that I want to be someone who can create that space for people. And even if I don't understand exactly what your perspective is or what your life is, because I haven't lived your life, there are things that tie all of us together as humans. And one of those things, unfortunately, is life struggles and feeling lonely and feeling isolated. And one way we can come together and help each other is to help each other not feel as lonely just by being empathetic and listening. And that is why I created this space. And so before I get into another tangent, I want to go back to the feeling left behind feeling, because I think a lot of the messages that I get online are about feeling like, oh, I feel like I've messed up something in my life, or I feel like I've made a wrong decision. I made a wrong turn. I went into the wrong relationship. I went into this relationship and it wasted all my time. Yeah, I do think it can feel like a waste of time. I definitely thought that too. I was like, oh no, I'm running out of time. But if you think about it, you can restart your life at any moment. You know that meme that everybody sees? Oh, Vera Wang didn't start her first collection until she was 60 or something like that. Or Disney didn't start till later either. I can't remember what the meme is. I'm going to put it right here so that we can all see it together. And if you're listening, I apologize. I will read it out loud later. But that is just a reminder that life is not linear. As much as we want to think that life is a movie and that we start from bottom and then we just go up and up and then go back down and then go up and up, that's not exactly how life works. So many things can happen that can disrupt where we are, our understanding of ourselves, and there's so many things that come into play, right? Pop culture, where we come from, what our background is, what social media plays for us, like what kind of pressures we feel from different cultures, family expectations. There's so many different things that come into play that add pressure into our lives that could make us feel like we're falling behind. But I think the most important perspective that I've gotten in all of this soul searching was that I just had to figure out what made me happy and what made most sense for my life. And once I stopped listening to other people, stopped trying to shape my life into what I thought other people wanted me to live and how I thought other people expected me to live my life, I was able to step out of what was quote unquote expected of me and just live my life. And when you are able to do that and detach from what social expectations are, life just opens up, because then you realize you can pretty much do anything. Like, I started this social media channel because I felt like it. Did I ever feel like I had the expertise to do it? No, not really. But that is also the beauty of technology these days. We have these opportunities. We can do all these different things. And you can change your life at any moment as long as you decide to do it. And you have to be the one to decide to do it. You can't do it for anyone else. You can't do it for anything else. You have to do it for yourself. For example, if you do social media to chase money, sure. Will you get to where you want to be? Perhaps. But the journey in order to get there is going to be a bit of a struggle, because you're not doing it for your self-fulfillment. You're maybe just doing it because you're trying to chase something else to prove to someone else that you're doing okay. And so I think that whole question of, am I behind? Am I falling behind? Am I impressive enough to other people? All those questions put us in comparison with other people. And I think that is the one thing that really trips us up as humans, because exactly as that quote is, comparison is the thief of joy. And we know that. We say all these things, but really live it and know that most of the time, the reason why you feel left behind is because you're constantly comparing yourself to everyone else around you. And when you stop comparing yourself to anyone else around you, what are you falling behind of? You're not really falling behind of anything, because you're just living your life as you're living your life. And there is nothing to be ahead of or to be behind, because time is a construct and you can literally just live however you want to live. And whatever timeline that you set for yourself is yours. So you could change that timeline anytime you wanted. You also don't need to live on a timeline if you don't even want to either. You could do anything you want to do, essentially. I do want to say that one of the things that freed me most from feeling left behind was to stop judging other people and stop judging myself for how I was living my life. Because that's also something that really popped out to me in these times of self-discovery, was that a lot of the things that I was judging myself on was some things that I were judging other people on. For example, have you noticed when you're at a dinner with your friends, and it depends on who your friends are, I know, but sometimes you get into these chats that you talk about how you're gossiping about other people and, oh my gosh, did you hear this person, blah, 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 blah. And then you start judging other people for their actions. You start judging people online, social media personalities, celebrities. We start judging other people for how they're living their lives. And the reason why we do that is because we're constantly comparing ourselves or other people against each other. That's when we feel left behind, because if you judge other people, you're also inherently judging yourself. You realize that a lot of that comes from insecurity. We judge other people because we think it's a way to protect ourselves in a way. I think the thing that I've realized about posting online, for example, is that some people ask me like, oh my gosh, you're so brave for doing that, because aren't you scared of people judging you? I'm like, actually, no, because the only person that is important that I should care about judging myself is me. And everybody else is a moot point, right? The way I see myself should be the only thing that matters. And I want to see myself as someone who tries hard every single day. I want to see myself as someone who's putting themselves out there and has compassion for people and kind to people and gives people space to be who they are. When I started seeing that in myself, for myself, I started seeing other people and giving them grace as well. It is only natural that you stop comparing yourself to them, because you realize that every single person is just a human being who's trying to do their best and doing the best that they can with the information that they have. So when you give people space and grace to be who they are, you stop judging them. You stop thinking, oh, look at all the mistakes they've made in their lives, because guess what? Their life is theirs and yours is yours. So live your own life for who you want to be. And you should never want to be someone else unless it's someone that you admire and you're like, oh, I admire this quality about them, but you don't have to be them. You know what I mean? There's a difference. And when you realize that, it just frees you to be exactly who you are, because I just want to be the best version of me. I don't want to be the best version of Laura or Kim or other people. I want to be the best version of me, Lauren Cheng. It's a very small shift that can happen in your brain, but when we learn how to not criticize other people, we also stop criticizing ourselves. And when we stop criticizing ourselves, that's when we learn how to love ourselves and really trust ourselves to build the life that we want. Because choosing compassion over criticism and judgment always gives us more space for creativity and just being who we are, and always more space for love. Love in all the forms that you're thinking of. And so I just wanted to end this episode and just share a little bit of that, because I do keep seeing all these messages about people feeling left behind. And you know what? I feel you. I've been there. And sometimes I do feel that, right? I want to get married at the same time as all my best friends. I want to have kids at the same time as all my best friends, because in some way you want to be on the same timeline as all your friends, so you don't feel like you're the only one going through something. But the thing is, if you allow yourself the freedom to just live your life on your own timeline, you will always find people who you connect with. You will always find other people who are living life in a similar stage as you, and you will always find other people you can connect with. And yeah, of course, there's moments when I feel left behind too, and I just want to feel safe and want to feel like, oh, I'm doing the same things as my best friends, so we're not left behind. It is actually something that can keep you living a smaller life than you probably could, because you're shaping yourself to live a life for other people and not for yourself. So I think that is going to be the end of my little yap session for today. If you ever do feel called to leave your story or share your story, and remember, all these stories are going to be anonymous, or you want to ask for advice at all, please feel free to click in the link in the show notes or in the caption. And as always, just remember that we are all humans doing human things. And I'm so grateful for you for listening and being a part of this community. I am always left astounded by how kind and how generous and how compassionate people are on the internet. When I first started posting, I wasn't sure that was going to be the case, but I'm really grateful that I've carved out this little section of the internet where it just feels like we're all just out here doing our best and doing the best that we can. And before I leave you, I wanted to leave you with 2 questions to think about in terms of feeling left behind and not judging other people, which is, where in your life do you feel like you're behind? And how can you reframe this as being in a different season? So think about where it is in your life that you do feel left behind. Give yourself a little compassion there, right? And trust that what is meant for you will come in the time that it's meant to come in. And there are no mistakes in life. So there are only things that we can learn from. Another question I want to leave you with is, what would you shift, or how would your life look like if you chose to be curious and compassionate instead of critical and judgmental? And I'm not even saying judgmental in a mean way, because of course you can be judgmental in a mean way, but there's also judgments when you think that other people are better than you, or you think that other people deserve more than you. There's all these different ways that we're quote unquote judging other people, right? So what would your life look like if you stopped doing that and instead approached it with curiosity and compassion? So I think that is all for today's episode. I am getting a little parched from yapping so much, but I appreciate you for being here. And I just want to always remind you, remember to be kind to yourself and just talk to yourself as if you were your best friend, because you deserve that compassion for yourself too. And that is all I wanted to say. Please feel free to share your story. I'd love to hear them. And I'm sure so many people in this community would also love to hear them too. So that is all. And I will see you next week. Have a good day. Bye.